Respecting those who got you started is essential. I learned how to rap from Mase, and Cam always made sure I appeared on all of his albums. If not for those guys, Jim Jones wouldn't exist. After an hour, it's encouraging to hear that you acknowledge, Mase, since I am a hater myself, I will not give credit to those who I love to despise. Alright? Do not believe that Pusha T ought to be listed among the top 50 rappers of all time? Whoa, what did he do? Apart from talking about drugs that he most likely didn't sell, what else has he done that makes him one of the best rappers of all time? Jim Jones made a mistake once more for just this reason. Pushing T was more than simply a show. He appeared to be conveying a message from hell as he stared directly into Jim's eyes and into the camera. Jim has been running from the spirit of losing everything, he stated bluntly. The fact that Jim's house was taken by the bank was a chilly blow. That is cruel. The humiliation didn't end there though, because guess who brought popcorn to the drama? Mase. Yes, Mase appeared as though he was enjoying a comedy show. The truly bizarre section, though, comes next. Jim refuses to accept the loss and move on despite being burnt in that way. Oh, dude. Alright, so rather than retreating, he immediately returned to the fray, launching a freestyle in retaliation and spreading hate on Instagram directed not only at Push but also at Mase. Bro, you're making the comments section a battlefield. Let's face it though, Cameron and Mase aren't letting him get away with it. They have shown no compassion as they have been ridiculing Jim nonstop. Let's now discuss the small desk moment during their live performance to promote their return album. Let God sort them out. Pusha and his brother Malice did more than simply play. They wreaked havoc. That was a declaration. Their rendition of the Kendrick Lamar song Chains and Whips, which had layers of verbal smoke directed directly at Jim, was the most outrageous. You can tell what time it is if you watch both of the clips, the little desk performance and the brilliant lyric breakdown. You begged us, fanboy. You're a fan, an admirer. Hey, hold on, leave me alone. Press T didn't recoil, didn't blink, nothing. With a menacing grin and a dead gaze, he delivered those bars as if he were directing a spell directly into Jim's chest via the lens. He wasn't entertaining the audience. He was like a sharpshooter with a microphone aiming straight at Jim. Even worse, Push's method of breaking Jim down was akin to surgery. It was more than simply rap. That was poetic accuracy, the sort that causes shame and bruises. Let's be honest though, Jim Jones was solely responsible for this. He was not instructed to start this argument. He abruptly became involved in the beef, purely out of a desire to stay faithful to Drake. With all due respect to Drake, however, Jim became an attack dog full-time for a man who didn't even give him a verse. Let's discuss the whips and chains. We're all in the room, bar. Here's the elephant though. You're trying to extract a feature from your element? Pusher was letting it all out. That was a clear jab at Jim for pleading with Drake for a feature so much that, in an attempt to gain attention, Jim went on television and declared Drake to be the best rapper of all time. Jim went utterly crazy when Billboard revealed their top 50 list and ranked Pusha T at number 29, with such sidelong intensity. He addressed the Breakfast Club, claiming that Pusher wasn't even worthy of being listed among the top 50 at the moment. The 5 Pusha T records his documents. I adore Pusher. Yes, nostalgia. The admirers of Pusha T, I had no idea he had such a following. What are 5 Pusha records that you can name? No, his documents, you see. But no. Do you know? Is it possible to rap to 5 Push? Can I? Not good at rapping 5? Okay. Are you able to rap to 5? Hold on. Are you able to rap? Not the tracks he's featured on, but 5 Pusha T records? Could you rap 5 Pusha T records if they came out right now? 5 Push D tracks might be rapped by you. Yes, a dot. Would you be able to wait? They began playing. Could you rap 5 Pusha T albums at this moment? I rap like the hook? Do you imply something? For example, could you sing them? My top 50 does not include you. despite being included among Charlemagne's top 50 and other accolades. You haven't accomplished anything for me in my life. For example, I never aspired to be like Pusha. I didn't. In my life, I never experienced a Pusha moment. I never imagined that you dig as much as I do from my hometown. If you were that guy, that rapper, and so on, I would want to be just like you. If you're fond of Pusha had an impact on him. Yes, all okay, great. Pusha recorded Mr. Me Too for that reason. All okay? Great. Are you a huge fan of Pusha T? FU isn't even close to the top 50, man. Your top 950, that wasn't sufficient at the time. He reiterated his criticism of the Rap Caviar podcast, claiming that Push hasn't really impacted the culture. With that vicious bar, chains, and whips, Pusha T undoubtedly struck a chord because Jim Jones quickly responded with a freestyle. Here's the story twist. In actuality, that freestyle is 2 years old. Yes, Jim did record the song back when a sample of the chains and whips rhythms surfaced following Clip's runway premiere at a Louis Vuitton event. Before the song was formally released, they walked out to it. Jim managed to obtain the instrumental in some way. The very next day, he went to the booth and performed the freestyle as if he had something important to prove. Now, however, fast forward. Jim made the ultimate nasty act when Clip's Little Desk performance went viral and the internet erupted in applause. He tagged the old freestyle video with the shade and reposted it on Instagram as if it were brand new. I believed we had previously discussed this. That desk was too small, so he will need a larger one. He went on to say, "This is surgical. I don't tell stories. Fans weren't buying it at all, despite my best efforts to seem cool while tossing half shots." Jim is being ridiculed by his own fans. If you look at the comments, someone stated, "You got triggered and smoked so bad you re-uploaded a disc from last year." Another ridiculed him by saying, "He said no names, and you're claiming enamel on your necklaces. It's the coldest of them. Geel becomes an obsession." Man, give it up. You're getting there. It's cruel. Not only from the internet either. Cameron and Mason were also powerless to stop themselves. You can already see they're giggling uncontrollably right now because of their complicated past with Jim. How are you, dude? Music for laughter. Oh, what's going on, man? Oh, man. Man, you're crazy laughter. Okay, man. Oh, man. All right. What do they desire? They have been observing this development as if it were high-end entertainment. To be honest, they're handling it as though karma had come full round. If you're wondering why Mase was laughing so much throughout this, the answer is far deeper than a simple viral diss song. This dispute isn't new, you see. It has been developing for decades. Jim Jones, Cameron, and Mase all grew up in Harlem together. Or at least, that's Jim's version. That anecdote, in Cam's opinion, isn't particularly kind to Jim. The trio was a member of the underground rap group Children of the Corn in the mid-1990s. Mase was the first member of their original team to become well-known. After signing with Diddy's Bad Boy Records, he rose to fame almost immediately. Dazzling videos, gaudy outfits, and the entire Harlem Shake period. However, Jim claims that's where the change occurred. Jim claimed that when Mase went viral, he changed quickly, began being goofy, and distanced himself from those who had previously held him back, particularly Cam. That struck a new chord. Earlier this year, Jim said in an interview with Justin Layboy's Respectfully program that he even sat there and saw Mase disparage Cam as if it were nothing. He claimed that the respect vanished at that point. Cam was still working hard on the streets while Mase was bathing in glistening outfits. Additionally, Cam made sure to invite Jim along when he eventually had his chance. Keep an eye on Cam and everyone in his vicinity. Whoa. Treat someone disrespectfully in contrast to what you've always heard. I was there the entire time. As I understand it, but I was Cam's guy. As you have heard, I wasn't present for everything. I didn't like what Cam liked. Additionally, I could already see how he was treating Cam. I thus didn't like him at all. Do you dig? Then I noticed how much Cam loved him and how she was going above and beyond for him, which is how a friend should feel. As is being too cautious and ensuring that nothing occurred. As if he were doing all in his power to keep Mase as secure as possible. However, Mase went crazy after receiving that money. The diplomats were born in this way. A Harlem hustle movement based on loyalty. But after all the shady intrigue, Mase vanished. He left the world of rap and returned as a preacher, a devout man of God. Then he abruptly returns to rap, attempting to re-establish a connection with the scene he left off. Jim didn't accept the return to him. Mase was a flip who only appeared when the spotlight was scorching again, bouncing between the pulpit and the studio. There is no denying that Yao Mase and Cameron had their share of drama in the past. But in 2022, they formally put an end to their feud and changed the course of events with their sports podcast. It is what it is. Not everyone was applauding, but that reunion was a moment. It's particularly not Jim Jones. When Jim saw Mase and Cam cooled together again, it was obvious that some old wounds had been rekindled. He didn't share the calm vibes. He felt deceived and excluded. What then did Jim do? He began making little jabs. He even attacked Mase recently, once again making fun of his appearance and telling everyone that Mase needed to work out and follow a diet, very salty actions. However, as you are fully aware, Mase and Cam weren't going to take it lying down. They unleashed the one person who was sure to irritate Jim, and he went into full petty mode. Jim's long-standing adversary is 50 Cent. They featured 50 prominently on their show, as if they were a distinguished guest of honor and not simply in passing. The setup followed that. Grinning, Cam turned to Mase and asked him nonchalantly to explain something from the past. Why did Jim Jones unexpectedly attend a G-Unit exhibition in 2007 while Dipset and G-Unit were at odds? Cam was aware of his actions. From the beginning, that query was a setup. 50 made a vicious slam to catch a flawless alley-oop that was sent into the air. A dot, without hesitation. It goes without saying that Jim fell for the bait hook line and breakdown. He abruptly interrupted Justin LeBoy's Respectfully program, yelling at Cam and 54 and even mentioning his name. Whatever that entails, Jim claims that they owe him more than a few favors. However, the gunfire continued after that. Jim claimed to be the creative force behind the entire Dipset mood, including the music and the visuals, and he turned the dial all the way up. He even claimed to have been the inspiration behind Cam's entire signature look, which included the renowned pink fur coat. Yes, Jim made a sincere attempt to make that assertion, but hold on. As you are already aware, Cam wasn't going to tolerate it on the podcast. He quickly clapped back and attacked Jimmy. Jim's entire Dipet Genesis myth was destroyed by Cam, who openly accused him of lying and presented the actual chronology. Jim was not from Harlem, as he frequently claims to be. According to Cam, Jim wasn't one of the originals, he said, and the Dipset was in motion before Jim ever joined in. Cam said the truth about it. Jim wasn't a founding member. He joined the movement later, and he wasn't in the trenches from the beginning. It then became much more complicated. Jim had claimed to have witnessed Mase mistreat Cam back in the day. He's trying to project an image of being present during the Mase bad boy period. Cam closed that completely. According to him, Jim wasn't even present when it occurred. Cam claims that Children of the Corn had already established themselves in the underground scene by the time Jim arrived. Jim was only a fan too. Things truly took a turn for the worse following that, which was only a fan joke. That was a deep-cut line. Not only for Jim, but also for everyone in attendance who reminisced about the heyday of the Dipset. Cameron wasn't only disparaging. Brick by brick, he tore away the core of Jim's entire rap persona. Industry insiders claim that Jim has been incensed behind the scenes ever since the episode aired. he has been criticizing others in an effort to draw attention to his contributions, asserting that he created the Die Pet brand from the ground up, the street presence, the mixtape grind, and the graphics. However, the issue is that Mase and Cam now have the microphone. They are controlling the story. And Jim is struggling to remain in the discussion. 50 Cent, meanwhile, is enjoying every moment of this. He has been stirring things up without even trying by sharing cryptic memes and cunning captions. Not to mention that people in their 50s have a lot of memories. He will never forget Jim's support for Ross during the Janet beef. And now, without doing anything, he is getting his retribution. This is where it becomes even more bizarre, though. And Cam are not finished. According to those close to them, they have been preparing a documentary series on the entire Dipset. And guess who might not receive the recognition he anticipates? As you are already aware, Jim is concerned that he will be reduced to a supporting role in a movement if they take over the plot he pushed. Here's the problem, though. Hip-hop legacy now encompasses more than simply music. It concerns who is in charge of the story. Additionally, Jim Jones is currently witnessing the rewriting of Dipset's tale without really wielding the pen. He's rushing to get back into the spotlight before it's too late because of this. According to insiders, Jim has been reaching out to former allies in an effort to secure interviews, schedule podcasts, and do whatever else to share his perspective. He also made a suggestion that he had unreleased material, receipts, and film. That will correct the record. However, let's face it, the internet has already made a decision, and his chances are not good. Cam and Mase are acting like chess experts in the meanwhile. They are simply making subtle jabs and letting the videos speak for themselves. They are not shouting or raging. And every time they do, Jim appears more like the resentful ex-friend attempting to interrupt the reunion to which he was not invited. The fans come next. Disgruntled loyalists are divided. Some people write to Jim out of deference. He is being criticized by others for being a victim. One comment went viral and says it all. After years of destroying bridges, you can't complain about being left out. Even the possibility of a full-length Cam and Mase documentary is currently being discussed. One that, with no reference to Jim Jones, emphasizes their Harlem origins, the bad boy era, and the formation of Dipset. The ultimate power move would be that, without mentioning his name, erase him. Jim is aware of what it implies. Once the audience settles on a version of history, it cannot be changed in a field that relies heavily on perception. It's obvious by now that this conflict extends beyond Instagram and music, cross-platforms, interviews, podcasts, and headlines. It's taking place in real time. It concerns who has the last say. Additionally, Cam and Mase are in charge of the message and the microphone. They have transformed it from a sports podcast into a vehicle of cultural influence. Depending on who is targeted, it has the power to either elevate or eradicate. Jim Jones is beginning to see that he is losing control of the storyline and that it is being written out of him completely. Viewers are reminded that they were the ones who were actually present each time Cam makes a sly remark or a Mase cracks an inside joke. Jim is unable to prevent his stories from being disparaged on television. The platforms are different for him. While they are producing this stuff, he is responding. The saddest aspect is that the younger generation, who were not raised on Dipset, is only witnessing this version of events. The one in which Jim was only a supporting player who arrived late, became rowdy, and caused trouble, never a real founder. Jim has been sharing nostalgic pictures and heartfelt appeals to remind people that he was the driving force behind Dipset's movement. However, Cam and Mase's silence speaks louder than any message. They are letting the fans make the final decision. Additionally, the fans are currently laughing with Mase and Cam rather than Jim. People behind the scenes claim that Jim feels confined, alone, and deceived. He believed that being faithful would get him a place at the table. Rather, he is observing everything from a distance. Jim is running out of time to change the storyline, since there are reports that Cam and Mase may be negotiating a book contract, or possibly a streaming special on the early Harlem days. Cam, however, didn't end there. He went all out to kill. He presented the evidence after bringing up the fact that Mase had taught Jim how to rap. Real-life videos in which Jim himself confessed on camera. It is undeniable. It was an incredible moment. The most outrageous aspect was that Mase didn't even need to speak. He ate a bucket of popcorn while remaining calm as ever and laughed so hard that he almost choked every time Cam jabbed. Jim, that man seemed to be enjoying the performance, as if he had purchased front row seats. It was trolling at the genius level. Louder than any diss track was Ma's silence. Jim nevertheless fell for the ruse in some way. He replied on the internet that he had smacked the popcorn from Ma's hands. He couldn't even contain it, brother. But don't worry, Jim isn't going to back down. Absolutely not. Rumor has it that he is preparing for retaliation in the booth. Additionally, he is requesting reinforcements this time. Jim is now working with Drake on his next album, Iceman. Additionally, according to sources, he has a whole repertoire of subliminal messages, including Locked and Loaded. A dot from Cam to Mase to Pusha T. No one is safe. Additionally, there is a certain track in particular that has industry insiders talking. The sort of song that may change the course of events, stir things up even more, and perhaps just possibly put Jim back in control. However, what are your thoughts? Will Jim merely dig himself deeper? Or is he set to make the biggest comeback of the year? Post your opinions in the comments section. A dot. Is Jim Jones retaliating as the underdog?